Good morning and welcome to the HR Huddle presented by Insperity. This show is designed to get small business owners important information they need about HR and offer a resource to get your questions answered from HR professionals, not some person online pretending they know what they're talking about. These are the actual experts at your disposal for the next half hour. I'm not an expert, but I am your host. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach, and I'm also the host of the Idea Collective for small business owners. On the show today, we have Jill Andrejat and Brianna Burgart, field service experts for Insperity. And during the show, feel free to ask your questions. If you are watching us on Twitch or Twitter or LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, it doesn't matter. Drop your question in the chat and we will be able to include it in the show. So with that, let's bring in our experts today. Brianna and Jill, good morning to you both. And today we're going to have a talk about employee wellness and well-being. So let's start with you, Brianna. What are the warning signs that you may need to address when you're thinking about employee wellness and well-being?
Good morning, Pat. That's a great question. I think that so often business owners are thinking they are waiting for a warning sign. They are waiting for some sort of a trigger event to kick off the need for wellness, the need for well-being. Employee well-being, employee wellness is not something that you necessarily want to wait for when it comes to, waiting for a triggered event. It's a great idea to start thinking about some wellness and well-being programs before any event actually happens.
And Jill, let's ask you the same question. In your experience, what are some of the triggers or warning signs that you might want to keep your eyes out for?
Employee relation issues arise, maybe employees not getting along or maybe bickering with each other. You can see a rise in absenteeism and also workplace injuries. So those are all kind of factors or some basic factors that you can look at to see if there's something there that maybe you want to move forward and do a wellness program to address some of those things.
I think it's common for folks to think about productivity maybe declining, but I hadn't considered workplace injuries. Is that a place where someone's not paying as much attention or being mispurposeful about what they're doing, and that would lead to injuries?
Absolutely. It could. Absolutely. I mean, there are a variety of reasons why that could happen, but absolutely. Yep. And
Okay.
you hit on it too. Lower productivity would be another indicator.
Okay. So let's stay with you, Jill.
Mhm.
What is well-being in the office? I mean, is this just like putting at a gym or giving someone a gym membership, or is it more than that?
No, it can comprise of a many different topics. So when I think about workplace well-being, it's providing employees with information on not only on how they can be better physically, but also emotionally and also socially and financially. So those are some of the kind of areas that I think about when I think about an employee wellness program.
So let's recap that there. Emotional, physical, financial, and social. That's much wider ranging that, I mean, I'm not a professional at all, but that still seems much wider ranging than most people think about it. Is that true, Brianna?
Absolutely. I think that when a business owner or business leader starts thinking about employee well-being and employee wellness, their minds may go directly to, like what you said, a gym membership, right? But that isn't necessarily what the answer needs to be. So, as Jill mentioned, reducing workplace injuries. I think that even just mitigating stress would be part of that well-being, and that may be something with your emotional well-being that you could get from an employee assistance program. You look at financial well-being. Well, if your employees are feeling a little bit more comfortable with their finances, they're going to be able to focus more at work rather than focusing on their home finances. So things that you can offer around that are things along the lines of health savings accounts, flexible spending accounts, dependent care flexible spending. You can do 401ks. That really helps with the employee's well-being financially. You look at social well-being, it's often talked about volunteerism in the workplace. That feeling good about helping others helps you feel better about yourself, and that also can parlay into the workforce as well. So really kind of looking at it a holistic approach. Not every business is needing or going to necessarily be able to afford gym memberships, but there are small things you can do in all of these different areas that can really add together to create actually a well-being program.
Welcome into the Small Business HR Huddle presented by Insperity. I'm your host, Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. I'm joined today by two HR experts, practicing HR experts in the field, Brianna and Jill. And if you are a small business owner and you have questions about HR, what an opportunity. Drop them into the chat of the platform you're watching, and we'll get them into the conversation today. So, Brianna, let's stay with you and go back to this question then of all of these different types of well-being we should be paying attention to. It seems a little overwhelming. Is there just like a plug and play option out there for us?
Well, not necessarily. And I say that because all companies are different. All industries are different, and all people are different. So what works at the company up the street or your friend's startup may not really be necessary at your organization or really be what your people want. So I would say always start with asking your people, right? This is for your people, so find out what they want. Don't necessarily assume. We experience that, yes, they do start with that kind of, we're going back to that gym membership example. That may be what they're looking for. Or maybe they're looking at even home workouts. A lot of people are working from home these days. Maybe there's an app out there that you want to encourage your employees to download, and you can do at-home workouts. But thinking that there's a plug-and-play answer really takes away the nuances that are specific to your organization. And that's when I would say talk with your HR team, maybe create even a committee. This is a great idea where you can start delegating to some folks who maybe want to have a little bit more responsibility, and they can start talking with your people and seeing what it is that they want. Along those lines, the CDC and some of the HR websites out there do have some great ideas. So I would even have whoever's working on your well-being program look at those websites and see what can I pull from those. Talk to your people. They probably did something at their last job. Pull from that. Don't reinvent the wheel. Start creating your well-being program by pulling parts of another wheel, right?
Absolutely. And if you're an employer of maybe 20 employees or something and you say, I don't have an HR team, that's when Insperity can step in and help you. So, Jill, let me ask you about this, because as a small business owner trying to grow the business, I want to find people and make them productive and make sure we're making money. And now, wellness, I got to worry about emotional well-being and social well-being. Like, it just seems to be the right thing to do, but just another layer of complexity of employing people. And to be candid, it feels a little exhausting. Does that make me a monster to say that out loud? Because it just seems like another thing.
Yeah, of course it does. But as Brianna said, these are you can form even a small committee, so it doesn't have to be, the management or the leadership team running this program. It can be this committee. You do have to have sponsorship from leadership, of course, to get this rolling. And it doesn't have to be everything in the book that you have to do in a wellness program. You
Right.
can start small, even if you start by looking at your environmental area. What type of, maybe snacks are you providing in the lunchroom? Are those healthy options? Do you have a picnic table outside that allows your employees to get out in the fresh air, or is it just kind of a smoking table? So some of these things that you can look at and do on a very small scale. The other thing I would say is survey your employees. It might seem like a big deal or too overwhelming to do, but I bet you your employees, either they have experience at another company who have done this and they've enjoyed that program, or they're looking for a program like this. So start out from there, surveying the employees. And again, I think Brianna had mentioned the CDC. They do have a really nice website on workplace wellness programs, and they do have guidance on how to design a survey. Start there. And just look at what kind of your low-hanging fruit is, and go off of that survey. And, again, this can be something that is for the long haul. So not just kind of we're doing it this year, it's on our goal, and then we're going to be done. You want to look at this as a long-term effort for your employees.
Yeah, and I think it's really great to see what Talmar Anderson, the boss muse, just put on the screen. It's so important to consider our employees as whole people with personal needs outside of work. It helps improve tenure with your business, which goes to the great comment, Talmar. Thank you very much. That goes to the next question, which is, okay, how do you know if you're starting to do employee wellness programs, if they're starting to work? What are some of the green shoots of progress that you would see?
Sure. So you would see some participation, right? You would see some excitement. And hopefully you're putting some of that into it too, right? You're providing some marketing materials, communication. Again, I said that leadership, support, and buy-in is important, because we need to have that communication on all levels. You will see people getting excited about this. Of course, you're going to have some naysayers too, but you're going to see participation. And after, I don't know, like maybe 6 months or a year, assess the programs that you put in and how successful they are. How many employees have stopped smoking? How many employees utilize let's just say, the Weight Watchers program that was instituted? How many employees participated in the volunteer program that was instituted? So those are the things that you can assess. And again, you're going to find out that there are some that are not going to be as popular, so to speak, than others. But again, rejuvenating that year after year, doing those surveys, getting more people or different people on your committee will all help keep that fresh.
Now, Brianna, it might not look like it, but I was in corporate for a long time. I started when I was 4. But when I was in corporate for a long time, early on in my career, these kinds of programs were met with eye rolls and like, oh, come on, we're really going to do this stuff. But I would imagine that times have changed and that now employees kind of expect this kind of broader relationship and discussion with their employer about their entire wellness and well-being. Is that true?
I believe that it is, Pat. I one time heard a quote that on a podcast that I also listened to along with this one, and it said that your boss has more to do with your health than your doctor. And that has stuck with me. I don't know, I don't have any statistics to back that up, but that has stuck with me for a very long time. And I think about that when we talk with our clients about recruiting techniques. How are you attracting top talent? And top talent these days is looking for, what is it going to be if I'm going to be spending most of my waking hours at this place? How is that going to feel? And so thinking about it in that sense, yeah, you're going to get an eye roll. You get an eye roll for most any initiative that you start, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. You don't need everybody to buy in. If you can get one person to stop smoking, if you can get one person to mitigate diabetes, if you can get one person to start walking on their lunch breaks rather than doing something unhealthy, then it's successful. In the long term, as a business owner, thinking about what Jill mentioned at the top of the call, mitigating absenteeism, I would take that over a couple of eye rolls any day. If it's going to be able to lower your health insurance costs, that's worth it. If you're able to keep your employees' morale and loyalty up there, that at the bottom, that's going to hit your bottom line, because a higher turnover rate is going to cost money. So keeping employees happy, keeping employees healthy is worth it. I think it's worth those couple of naysayers, those couple of eye rolls in the back. And as Jill mentioned, it doesn't have to be this cheesy, hokey idea. It can just be throw a couple of healthy snacks in the break room, point out a walking path that people can go take a look at on their breaks. Put a picnic table outside that people can sit at and get some fresh air. And it can go as far as the quintessential gym membership and the yoga classes and beyond. But it doesn't have to start that big. It can be very grassroots.
I want to talk about cost in a second, but Jill, I want to come to you about a nuance that Brianna mentioned. One of the wellness piles is emotional wellness, and it would be free for a supervisor or a boss to reconsider the tone that they take, the way they write emails, how they hold meetings, the hours that they keep, when they reply. All of that stuff is free. Is that a best practice for supervisors now, to reflect on the emotional well-being of their team?
Yeah, especially if it's remote. So obviously, where we're sitting right now, in our time, there's a lot of remote workers, right? So those lines between work and home get blurred. And employees or employers are seeing a lot more stress from employees because of those lines. So be aware of that. Be aware of that balance for your employee. And I think somebody in the chat said the whole person, right? Look at the whole person. So even though I'm working from home, I still have to have my home life, my hobbies, and things like that keep me refreshed and coming back and being able to think of things and have good ideas and being able to interact with my coworkers and my clients positively. So I have that when we talk to clients too. That's one of the things that I ask when we're talking about stressed out employees or situations in the workplace where the productivity has declined. It's that, what kind of role modeling are you doing? Are you putting out those 3 a.m. Emails? Because then the employees feel like they're expected to do that as well. And that might not be the most healthy thing for people to do on a regular basis, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the Small Business HR Huddle presented by Insperity. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. We're joined today by two HR experts, Brianna Burgart and Jill Andrejat. And we want to take your questions if you have them. Because if you're a small business owner and you have some employees, but you don't have an HR person, that's what Insperity is on the planet to do, to help you have top flight service to your team so you can grow your business. And this is just a free roll. You got a question, put it in the chat. We'll put it in front of them. And today we're talking about employee wellness and all the different ways you can make sure your employees are as successful as your business, at least as successful as you want it to be. So I want to come back to you, Jill, about the cost. There's the cost and the expense. The cost of how much does it cost to start tackling some of these ideas, but to what Brianna was talking about, the expense of lower productivity, the expense of turnover, the expense, like all of those hidden expenses that could pile up if you're not addressing wellness. So how much is this going to cost to start taking action?
Yeah. So, if you're, it doesn't have to cost really all that much money. You don't have to have a large budget. You don't have to give gym memberships out to your employees or pay for the cost of Noom or Gnome or Weight Watchers or anything like that. Again, the cost can be pretty minimal. And when you are setting up this program, that's something to look at, certainly what is your budget here? We talk about when I think about wellness, sometimes I think one of the first questions I get is, well, we have to offer our employees something, some sort of incentive. And, of course, incentives are good, right? They give us a positive something positive to start our journey. But of course, at the end, you want to kind of turn it around where the results of what you're doing, spur you on to do more. So again, those things can be very small, maybe a water bottle or, a healthy cookbook or something like that. One of the things you want to keep in mind, though, too, is with your wellness program, and of course with any sort of costs or any sort of reimbursement that you're going to give to your employees, you'll want to have legal counsel on that, because there are certain laws, federal laws. GINA is one of the laws. HIPAA is another one that kind of plays into that. The EEOC, the Affordable Care Act, that you have to have. There's certain reimbursement requirements with those laws that you'll want to make sure that you're adhering to. The other thing too is with EEO, you'll want to make sure that your programs are accessible to everybody. So you're not just offering a walking path, for instance, but you're offering a variety of things that a multitude of your employees, depending upon whatever disability that they might have, that they can join in on too. So again, going back to your question about cost, it doesn't have to be that much, really. And I think when you look at what that ratio is between the actual outlaying of money that you're providing for, let's say, a water bottle to and promote your wellness program, really is probably pretty nominal compared to if you've got a really good programs, what you'll see in terms of absenteeism reducing, productivity going up, and so on.
And let's talk hard costs just for a second. Brianna, if we get really good at this, what are some of the hard costs that may come down because we have a healthier, more engaged, more fulfilled team members working for us?
Well, I think the first one to really think about, and it is probably a longer term calculation, but your healthcare costs likely could come down because you have less use of the healthcare provider that you're using, because a lot of times a lower wellness leads to higher stress or other unhealthy situations that could put stress on your benefits. I think about turnover. I don't know that everybody and most business owners do recognize this, but just keeping in mind that the cost of turnover, a lot of times it costs 50% more to hire somebody new, because you have to go through that process of training them up. And if you have turnover over turnover, or maybe you have to have extra people on your staff just to fill in the gaps, because you may have multiple people taking extra sick days than you're used to, more time away from work. It really all compounds itself. And I think that one place to look where you already may be spending money is with your healthcare provider. For instance, at Insperity, a lot of our providers have wellness branches to them with things like apps. There's an app that we have as a stress and anxiety and depression mitigation app, and that is something that's available because of the health benefits that our employees have. Employee assistance programs, that may be something that your health benefits, you're already paying for it, just making sure your employees are aware of it. So see if you have those available through your healthcare providers. Another thing that our employees with Insperity have access to is not only in the employee assistance program, but discounted programs. So maybe there's a group rate that you can find on something. We have programs where people can find group rates on gym memberships, on fitness tracking watches, on stress mitigation, diabetes mitigation, smoking cessation, beyond. All of these programs, you can find even some of these programs lowered costs because of your current relationships already.
Yeah. We're going to connect with Aaron Hoagie here in a second to learn how a small business owner that might be watching could learn how they can start taking advantage of what Insperity has to offer. It's the last call for questions, by the way, too. If you're watching the show and have a question for our HR experts, drop it in the chat and we'll include it here right before we sign off. But Brianna, I'm going to come to you and Jill for a final word on employee wellness. So what haven't we covered, or what would you like to share that you just want to make sure everyone watching knows about?
Um, I'll say this, there's a lot of good information out there. So we mentioned the CDC. They have just a wonderful site out there regarding employee wellness programs. Transamerica does as well. So those are some of the places that you'd want to start. Again, we talked about the money factor of it. It could be as easy or as simple as just providing a buddy program for new employees. So somebody who isn't necessarily an employee or a coworker, but maybe somebody from a different department that could just help to help that new employee in that social factor. And also volunteering, giving your employees maybe a day, 8 hours, 16 hours of volunteer time can really go a long way as well.
Those are great thoughts. Brianna, final word from you on employee wellness and what we can do about it?
I would say final words, don't overthink it. Start small, ask your people, start a committee, and away you go. There's likely somebody at your organization who wants more responsibility. Not everybody can be a VP, but you can have somebody who is the head of the wellness committee. And it can be small. It does not have to be a grand gesture. You can start by bringing in some folks from your community. Maybe a CPA can come in and talk about financial well-being. Maybe a nurse friend can come in and talk about healthy practices. It does not have to be a big, huge, grand project. It can be very approachable, and always listen to your people. Ask them, get ideas from them. They're your best resource.
This show is a great resource for small business owners, and it's because of the expertise of Brianna Burgart and Jill Andrejat. Thank you both for coming on today. I really appreciate it. So if you're intrigued now and wondering, okay, I'd like some of that HR expertise on my side, let's welcome in our friend Aaron Hoagie. So Aaron, it's great to see you again. So if someone's thinking, okay, Insperity, what can they do for me? You're the person to connect with. What does Insperity do for small business owners? Well, I think you're muted there, Aaron. You're going to have to unmute your microphone, and then we'll be able to share more about it.
My kids are
There you
in
go.
my kitchen, so I had to
No
make sure
problem.
that I was on mute. But as I mentioned, just thanks for having us on the show again. The ladies are a wealth of knowledge. Sometimes you really got to think outside the box, and what a course they are to offer to businesses. Insperities, we are in the business of people, so we're here to help your business run better, grow faster, and make more money. We're a single source solution for your HR. If you're curious a little bit more on what maybe that is, please don't hesitate to email me. I love to do a Zoom. I can even come out to meet you if you're comfortable, just to kind of give you a highlights about what we do and what we can perform, opportunities for your business. It's very simple. We just have a nice chat together to see if we're a good fit in your business model, a good fit for your people. If you're interested.
And the experience that I've had is, hey, can Insperity help with this? And the answer is usually, yeah. I didn't know that they could do that for me. So it really starts with the discussion, and it starts via email. The email that's on the screen is what we should contact you at.
Absolutely. Just let me know if you have a question. I'd be happy to answer it. Or if you want to have a little bit more of a conversation, absolutely. We keep it very casual because that's who we are. We want to make sure we're a nice fit for you and we're exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's definitely not the hard sell, and it's a team, as you can get the feel today just from hearing from Brianna and Jill and Aaron. They're really here to help you. And it's great to see you again, Aaron. Thanks for coming on the Small Business HR Huddle. So I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. I'm on the planet to make sure that small businesses are moving forward, making more money, growing, and you're enjoying it more, right? We can go get paid to do a lot of different stuff, but we've chosen to walk the small business journey, which means we've chosen to build a business. And it's going to get to a point, if it hasn't yet, when you're employing people, you need to do it right because those are humans and you want to take care of them. Don't do it alone. Get in touch with Insperity and they might be able to help you. For Brianna and Jill and Aaron, I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. We'll see you again soon on the HR Huddle presented